every day, just so you can get them used to the feeling of it. And then you're going to also want to use an electric toothbrush so they get used to the sound. So it's similar to a clipper, just because those are the closest thing. Or if you have a regular shaver at home, you can use one of those too. But most people have an electric toothbrush, so it's a little bit easier.
Okay, good. Good morning, Shelly. Carolyn, good morning. Camille asks, please ask about nails bleeding a lot, no matter how short you cut them. She has a 7-month-old Cavapoo.
And are they just bleeding? Or usually if like you're trimming the nails and you hit the quick, you're gonna wanna always have something called quick stop or synthetic powder. It kind of looks like this, kind of hard to see, but and that will help stop the bleeding. If it's more of a consistent thing where it's always happening, I would say go to the vet, just so the vet can look at it and maybe have to cauterize it, just because it may be a little more further down than what the powder can do.
Can you explain how people know where the quick starts? So when you're looking at a dog's nail, how do we know how far to clip?
So usually if you look at it, I would show you on my dog, but her nails are already short. But usually when you look at it, when it starts to curve, if it's a clear nail, you'll be able to see it. But when it starts to curve, there's a little bit of a like part where it's not connected to the actual like nail bed, and that you want to start. So when you start trimming it, the closer you get to the quick, the softer the center will get of the nail. So you'll be able to start feeling it that way. So I just tell everybody to go real slow and just slowly do it until you start feeling a little bit of softness, and then just stop there.
Yeah, good. And something, Camille, if you're having lots of problems, you keep cutting the quicks and the tiny little nails, get a Dremel and just kind of Dremel the nail just a little bit at a time. That's what we do with all of our puppies, so that we don't have to worry about cutting the quick, because our nails are so tiny. So we just Dremel them once a week to keep them from being so sharp. So get a Dremel, replace the clippers. That would be my advice for sure. Okay, a question about matting. How can we prevent mats in our doodles?
Brushing. Lots and lots of brushing. There's different sprays and stuff you can use, but majority of it is going to be brushing. Just brushing every day, at least twice a day if you can. I kind of tell everybody to brush in like a rainbow effect. So you're going to want to brush up, you're going to want to brush sideways, you're going to want to brush down, and then you're going to want to brush the other way. So you get all the way down to the skin. And then another good thing to use is going to be a metal comb. If you can run a metal comb through them, then you're not going to get any mats. And so that's just the main thing, is brushing. Lots and lots and lots of brushing.
And then can you show us a slicker brush as well that we recommend? Yeah. Our doodles. So the metal, you got to have these two things. If you have a doodle, you have to have a metal comb and a slicker brush.
I have two different sizes. I use another one, I just don't have it with me. So this is my smaller one, but you can kind of see the bristles on it. And then this is my bigger one. But you just want to use it, and when you're using it, some people think that it's going to hurt them. Apply the pressure on your arm, and if you start to feel like it kind of scratches you and hurts you, it's probably going to hurt them, so don't push so hard.
And I think here's a common mistake, and I did it when I had my Hannah, my very first doodle. I would take my slicker brush, you're gonna laugh at me. I would take my slicker brush and I would brush, and they would look pretty and fluffy, and I thought I was doing a good job. But the problem is with our doodles is we have to get all the way down to the skin, not just brush the top, right? It's like our hair, if you just brush the top layer, not underneath, you'll be all underneath. So you've got to think about going all the way to the skin and brushing the hair out from the skin. Life-changing. Don't be
absolutely.
Get the comb or the brush right down to the skin, and you don't have to do it hard, but just make sure you're brushing the hair from the skin out.
Yes.
And then you're like, I brush every day and the dog's mad. Well, you're not brushing correctly. So,
correct. I tell people that all the time.
We're doing a good job, Chloe. We're like, yeah, we're brushing the dog. They look pretty, they look soft. But we're not getting from the skin out. For crying out loud, things that simple can be life-changing. Especially
if you have a swimmer. If they swim pretty often, you want to make sure you're brushing a lot, or just take them short in the summer, just because it's hair, it'll grow back, and it's easier maintenance for you as the pet owner and for the groomer, just because when they come in from the swimming pools, they're usually pretty bad.
Dry out ears. Because I have a dog that's matted and a dog with ear infections. So our swimmers, we have to really make sure we take care of ears and coat and skin. Their skin doesn't.
Yes.
Speaking of that, what's your favorite shampoo and conditioner?
I really like the Tropiclean brand. The berry one's my favorite. And then another one I like is called Hydra. And they have shampoos, they have conditioners, and then they have a matting spray that's also amazing. And so it's Hydra. It's like a purple bottle. But for other matting sprays, this one's my other favorite. It's called Maddox. You can kind of see it. The glare's not the best, but that's another good one. But yeah, shampoo, Tropiclean's my go-to.
Okay, awesome. What about dogs with dry skin? Do you have a shampoo?
I use a medicated shampoo called Zymox. I love it. I swear by it. I personally don't use oatmeal just because I have noticed in the past that it breaks down and it causes them to itch more and irritate the skin more. And so I personally don't use oatmeal. I'll either use hypoallergenic where it's fragrance free, no smell, or I'll use a medicated shampoo depending on the skin issues.
Okay, good, awesome. Sean, got our team Jeanette and a team Jenna today. Yay. I'm not even gonna try to race you because you'll beat me. You'll get more hashtag team Jennas. Yes, she will. Know her? She's like, my legs hurt already. I'm like, it's first thing in the morning. She wanted to sit. All right, good. We've got a few more. Here we go. We've got, Heather wants to know, what's your favorite brand of brushes for dogs, or just your favorite brushes for Doodles? So I know we talked
slicker brushes for sure. There's a brand called Chris Christensen. He has a really good brush. It's about $65, but it's well worth it. It's a steep price for a brush, but the teeth on it, as to where on my slicker brush, the teeth on it are probably about double the size. So for the longer Doodles, it's a lot better to get down to that skin, as to where like this one would be more so for like medium coat to shorter Doodles.
Yeah, fine. Gosh, we breed flies too around here. How often should you bathe your Doodles? When is too much? And you know, how do we know how often, I guess, is the question.
It really depends. If they're doing like just regular maintenance grooming, I usually tell everybody at least once every 4 weeks. If you want to bathe at home in between, that's fine. Just make sure you properly dry and brush. Because if you don't properly dry and brush, that's when the matting starts. And then they come in and the groomer has to shave it down. And no Doodle owner likes that. And so yeah, if you want to bathe at home, I would say probably if they're pretty active and go out a lot and they get pretty dirty, you can do once a week, like Jenna was saying, with her babies. But other than that, majority of the time I tell people 4 weeks for bath and then every 4 to 8 weeks for grooming.
Okay, so some people, depending on their lifestyle, don't actually have to bathe their Doodle if they're doing the groomer 4 to 6 weeks. If they're not hike. That's kind of mine right now. My older girls, you know, we don't generally, unless they're outside more than normal, which in the summer they're not. I don't bathe them in between their grooming. You know, they get their bath when they get groomed, and then we just use some spray in between. We like the good stuff just to help keep them clean and smelling good in between baths. So that's something you can do. Another thing too, I want to, before I forget, if you're going to bathe and blow dry at home, please just invest in a dog blow dryer. We tried the whole hair.
It doesn't work as good.
You guys, you'll sit there for 5 hours. Invest the $150 for a decent, that's all we use here. We're doing baths all the time. Almost every day we're bathing or blow drying dogs. So there's 2 brands that we like. I hope I remember them now. When Pigs Fly, is that one of them, Chloe? Do you know?
Yeah, that's one.
when pigs fly, and then there's another one we use. We'll kind of go back and forth. We like them for different reasons, but we are using them every day. We really should invest in like a high-powered blow dryer, and these little babies do great for us. The puppy baths we do, all of our adult dogs here, and we've got a swimming pool here, so we've got dogs in and out of the pool. So please, if you are one of those families that like to bathe your doodle at home and you're using a human blow dryer, trust me on this.
Yeah, I did that for a while. It
It's
was not.
It takes you way longer. It's completely different. They can get used to the regular dryer at home, and then when they come to the groomer, because it's such a different dryer, they don't like it, and so they get more scared of the dryer because it's a lot louder compared to a home dryer.
Yeah. And it's higher powered, and so it is blowing on them more. But for our doodles, you guys, we need that. We need that higher power air to make the coat nice and soft and straight, and to blow any of the hair off of them too. You know, will help when they come home if they are shedding a little bit. So yes, you have to invest in a good blow dryer. Sorry, just saying. All right, Christine asks, her doodle has stinky ears.
Usually if they're stinky and it's not just a base stinky, it might be an ear infection. But if you're wanting to just regular clean the ears, Tropical Clean's a really good brand. I know I've seen a comment about the ear hair too on one of the posts. And so for that, you would use a powder. The cleaner is not going to really be what is going to help get the hair out. The powder, it's just like kind of like baking soda is the best way to explain it. It's this texture of it, but it's not baking soda. And so you would just get that and then put a little bit in it and just gently pull the ear hair when you're trying to get that out. But the Tropical Clean ear cleaner is the best one that I like. And when it comes to the smell, it's usually, from my experience, it's usually an infection when it has a strong odor to it. So I would have that looked at.
Yeah, good. Keeping the hair plucked out of our doodles' ears is important because it does trap the bacteria and the moisture in it. So poodles will have more hair in their ears. Your F1B doodles could have more. Your F1s may not have any, and you may not even have to pull hair. So you just have to look inside your dog's ears and see. If you're kind of having chronic ear infections or some stinkiness, but it's not an infection, but it's kind of bordering that, you've taken them to the vet, and they're like, no, there's no infection. We like Zymox, Z-Y-M-O-X. It does have a little bit of hydrocortisone in it, a little bit of a higher power cleaner, I should say, ingredients that with all of our dogs here in our swimming pool, we maybe have 2 ear infections a year at most because we regularly clean with Zymox. As soon as we see or smell stinkiness or see any kind of redness or the darker reddish brown buildup, then we'll get in the ear and just wipe it all clean with the Zymox. And that's been huge for us. Life-changing. So many life-changing things. Blow dryers. Okay, let's see here. Got the stinky ear. Guys, keep your questions coming. These are great. So tell, you know, why I'm reading through questions. Brand new dog owner with a doodle. So we're getting them prepared to come to the groomer. So I'm going to bring you my dog, and I want a certain look. What is the best way to communicate with with groomers on what I want my dog to look like?
Pictures are a really good way, just so the groomer can actually see. And generally, we can kind of guess the length from the pictures, from seeing the pictures. The only thing with that is when you're looking for pictures, make sure you look for a picture of a doodle that has your type of doodle's coat, just because that's a big difference. If they're F1B, they're going to have more of that poodle coat, so they can have the fluffier head, as to where if they're more of the golden, they're going to have that flatter coat, so you can't do the fluffy round head with them. So just making sure that you're looking at the right pictures, just so you don't go in there expecting your groomer to do magic.
So, and then the other thing we say is, don't poodle my doodle. What does that mean?
That means don't shave the face and don't shave the feet. You don't even want to shave the bridge of the nose. I personally don't on doodles, just because it's not necessary. They don't need it. They're not poodles. They're a doodle for a reason. They don't need the clean face. They don't need the clean feet. You can trim their feet short if you take them hiking out and you want to have it shorter for boots or something like that. But you don't need to shave them completely bald like poodles.
Talking about feet, how can we keep the hair in between? Some doodles have hairy feet. How can we keep the hair in between the pads trimmed and clean?
If you're doing it at home, the best way to do it is just like an electric razor, like an electric shaver. Just be cautious just because there is veins in the feet. So when you do shave into the feet, you do have to be cautious of the veins that are there. Or you can always set up a routine with your groomer. I have some doodles that come every 3 weeks, and I'll just bathe them, brush them, check their feet, clean up around their eyes, kind of just do a cleanup. And that gets the hair out of the feet for them, just because usually about every 3 weeks, there's enough hair in there that can be shaved out.
Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, Eliana asked, she found Isle of the Dog products. I love those, Eliana. Those are one of my favorite, Isle of the Dog. And I just remember a little trick I learned a long time ago, and I'm sure you guys do it too. Bathe twice, shampoo twice, and condition once makes a huge difference in the cleanliness of the dog. One time just does not cut it. Like, you have to wash them twice. And the amount of baths we have here, I'll be honest, we use just a generic big gallon shampoo the first time. And then the second time, the Isle of the Dogs, and then the Isle of the Dogs conditioner, and makes it really smell and texture and ease of brushing and blow drying. That shampooing twice is huge. I don't know why. I guess just because there's so much hair and it just needs it.
Well, when they're cleaner, they dry a lot better. So when you wash them twice, because they're so clean, they just dry a lot better if you have the proper dryer.
Okay, good. How do you trim around the bum Jessica wants to know. This is not my question. How do you trim around the bum to avoid yucky stuff sticking, called a sanitation shave? So explain that.
So you can try to learn how to do it at home with shavers. The only thing is some dogs don't really like their owners doing things to them that groomers can do. But using scissors, I really like thinning shears. They're the ones with like the little teeth on them. And these don't take as much hair. So if you are using them, they're not going to take as much hair off. And you can just lightly trim the hair around the butt just to keep it kind of maintenance until you can go back into the groomer. But I would probably say the thinning shears is the best way to go.
And the same thing for our male dogs. You can trim around their privates to keep things cleaner so that it's not so wet down there after they potty, and female dogs too. So there's a sanitation shave or groom that you just kind of clean up both areas and get the hair a little bit shorter so that it's cleaner, and then you can just use a baby wipe or whatever when you need to. You're tired, boo.
Yep.
All right, good. Eliana wants to know, Chloe, where are you located? Go ahead and give a shout out to where you're working.
I'm at Boogie Time off of Patrick and Pecos. They're a newer facility, but it's daycare, grooming, boarding, kind of overall everything. It's right off of it's real close to the airport. The best place to do is just take the 215 and get off at the airport and go off on Sunset and then go down Sunset, and you can get to it pretty easy from there.
Okay. After the show, Chloe, just go drop that information on the thread on Facebook so people can find you, maybe your phone number and your location, so that anybody looking for a groomer in the Las Vegas area can contact you. Okay, going through.
Absolutely.
Got the ears. We got the coat. Oh, okay. I want to talk about this. This tends to be an issue. And, you know, I do tell my clients, don't have the groomer do eyelashes, because some just cut them and then owners come back really kind of devastated. So that is something that they need to communicate. Don't cut the eyelashes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so say it. So if you want I think the more communication, the better. Don't just drop your dog off assuming that the groomer knows, unless you already have an established relationship with the groomer, but especially if it's a new puppy and you're a new client or it's a new groomer, the pictures, the complete and utter communication, think about everything, the eyelashes. Do you want the tail and the head longer and the body shorter? Do you want the shaved feet? Do you want the shaved? Some doodle owners shave the face in the summer or all the time because they're the dirt, the filthiness, like if they eat softer food, or, you know, their beard gets so dirty and their water's filthy. So, you know, whatever works for you. And then a good size I'll share, like our dogs that we keep, our Doodles, especially in the summer, we do a number 4 blade. Is that the most common?
It really depends. I have some that will do a 4 or 5. A 5's a little bit shorter. But I feel like if they're swimmers or they go to the lake very often, a 5 or a 7 is the best option. Depending on the condition of the coat, you may be able to do a 4, which is just a little bit longer, but that's, if you do a longer blade, they're going to have to come back to the groomer sooner. So that's the best thing to keep in mind. If you're going to keep them longer, they need to come more often. If you keep them shorter, they can go a little bit longer with the grooming process.
And then communicate with them if you want the dog all one length. You know,
Yes.
see this, you have to tell them. You know, don't be afraid to explain and spend the time with a new groomer exactly what you want. So we always say, if you don't want the eyelashes cut, you need to tell them. Explain the differences of if you want them all one length, or you want the head and the tail longer and the body a little shorter. That's what I do. We do a number 4 blade, and then the head, you know, more square teddy bear, and the tail longer. The other thing too is we tell the groomers, don't do anything with the anal glands. It used to be common practice that it was just automatically done, and what we have found is that it actually causes problems for dogs, because if it's manually done, and groomers can't go in from the inside and do it, they have to do it from the outside. Which then it makes it harder for the dog to naturally release their own anal glands. So it's one of those things that's better not to do unless there's a problem. And if you see a problem with anal glands, take them to the vet, because they are able to express them correctly. And so is that something you, tell me, is that still common practice? Is that done unless someone tells you not to do it?
I usually do it upon request. So if they ask me, I'll do it. Other than that, I usually don't do it. And I'll look, and if I feel like they may be too full and it's more of a risk of me doing it compared to them going to the vet, I won't touch them, and I'll tell them they need to go to the vet and they're impacted and the vet needs to express them.
I wish all groomers would do that. Chloe, what a difference. There's so many issues with anal glands, and it's just, I think it became such standard practice, and we didn't realize how many problems it really does cause. Anal glands are 2 little pockets on each side of the anus that will fill up with scent. And dogs should naturally be able to express that scent. Sometimes when they get spooked or scared, it will all come out, or they'll rub their behind on the ground. It's definitely something they don't need anymore, but it was marking, a way of marking, you know, back for our dogs a long time ago, but manually doing it with the groomer is just not the best way. So when you take your puppy, especially for first, or if you've been having it done, I would highly caution to not do that. But you know, unless you've already been doing it for years and it's okay, then I guess keep doing it. But if it's a first time puppy, don't do anal glands. All right, more questions. Here we go. Is there a specific website we can go to see the different doodle cuts with specific codes so we can make sure we tell the groomer properly? I know you said send a pics. If I Google visit, yeah, Jessica, I mean, we've done shows too where we showed the different types of cuts and what to say to a groomer. I would say keep Googling, or if you're part of our Facebook group too, we post a lot of clients will post pictures after a dog's been groomed. As soon as you see one you like, grab it. I mean, Chloe, do you know of any website?
I don't think there's any website, but if you know, like if you have a F1, a F1B, maybe just Google those. That way you get more of a specific picture that you're looking for compared to just overall doodles. Since there is so many different doodles, you may get a picture of a sheepadoodle and you have a goldendoodle. So it's just making sure that you're searching the right words, basically. And then, like you said, paying attention to those groups. And if you find a picture that you like the cut, just save it and screenshot it and just keep it kind of in a file safe so it's easy to find.
Yeah, good. How can you clients find a good group? What things should they really look for? What things should they ask?
Lots of questions. Personally, a lot of my doodles, they came to me from word of mouth. So it was just person said one thing to another and it kind of just got around. But just asking lots of questions, how long they've been doing it, that how long they've been doing Doodles, if they have any certain breed they like are more prone of doing, whether it's Shih Tzus, Doodles, Poodles, kind of just asking as many questions as you can, and making sure that they don't shave the face or the feet is the main thing. But, and I mean, it is hair. It will grow back if you don't like the groomer that you're at. There is tons of groomers throughout Vegas. I know tons of them throughout Vegas, different states, Texas, California. And it's just talking and finding the right one that can make the dog look the way that you would like it to look.
Good. And reading reviews, word of mouth is really good, but reading reviews, doing a little bit of research on the web, reading reviews of that groomer. And I definitely, yes, ask how long have you been grooming Doodles and how many do you do? Because it really does take a special groomer to manage. It is not easy. It takes a long time. These dogs are not easy to groom, and especially these beautiful cuts you guys do with the perfect face. They look so blocky and beautiful. I mean, it really is an art. And so finding a groomer that does that. I would also say lastly, beside all that, of course, like you said, try them out. Is your dog happy? You know, that was always my indicator, you know, or my dog's happy to go and happy when I pick them up, happy both, you know, so that you knew that they had a positive experience. Now, your first, speaking of that, at 4 months old, when they're fully vaccinated, you set up their first grooming. It's actually called a puppy cut. Is that what you call it too?
I call it puppy tidy.
Puppy tidy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going to go tidy up your puppy. It is more than anything, the time is spent to do what?
To just get them used to the process. So I go really slow with them. I do the bath, I do the nails. I'll trim around the feet, the eyes, the sanitary area, just to get them used to it. Just because they're going to be going through this the rest of their life. And so if they are terrified of the groomer or don't like it, it's going to be a bad experience for the dog every time, and you don't want that. And so just getting them used to the bath, the dryer, the sound of the clippers, the scissors, kind of just overall getting them used to everything. Typically, I won't do a full haircut on a puppy until they're about 6 months, just because I want to get them in at 4 months and at 5 months to get them used to it. Usually by about 6, 7 months, they're more comfortable with the grooming process and will stand on the table a little bit better, and kind of are a little more calm for it.
Yes, good. You know, we educate and work so hard, and the way we raise our puppies too is through positive exposure, through experiences, and building upon stuff. And we talk about that a lot too. You just can't put a leash on a puppy and expect them to heel and walk correctly. You have to show them and guide them, you know, what's allowed and what's not allowed out on a walk. I cannot stress the importance of setting up your puppy for success for a groomer, something that they will need for the rest of their life. The puppy cut or puppy tidy, or what else we used to call it? Just, okay, I can't even think of it, but there was another word too. It was so cute. And this is just about training and exposure as much as it is about the actual grooming that happens. It's very minimal. They're not on the table for a long time. A good groomer will take the time and make it all very positive. It's a completely different frame of mind because we're just exposing and making sure it's positive and fun, setting this puppy up for success. So please, even if you, oh, my puppy doesn't need it. No, they do. It's not about the grooming at this point, a little bit, but it's about the exposure, the experience, the setting them up. And when you call and say, I need the puppy cut, you know, or the puppy tidy, the teddy bear, no, I think we just called it puppy cut. I don't think there was another word. I don't know why I think there was, but I don't know.
I think
I swear it's something else. No.
Some people use puppy cut as like a term to like shave the dog one length. Or they think it's like a certain type of haircut where the dog's like a certain length and they just have this cute face. And puppy cut's not really a term besides for what we're talking about, trimming them up, getting them used to it. It's not really going to be more so, oh, it's a certain length, do this every time, just because every dog is different. But yeah, a lot of people use puppy cut as a shave down for a certain length.
Like they were when they were a puppy. Yeah, but 4 months, you mark your calendar when you buy your puppy. 4 months old, make your first appointment whether you think they need it or not, because they do need it. They need it for the exposure and the experience as much as anything. So that's really what that first appointment is about, is making it super fun. So make sure it's fun getting in the car and taking them there. When you get there, picking them up. It's reward and puppy party all the way home. What happens, we get these young puppies and their first time in the car is to the vet at home. And then they need their next set of shots. This happens a lot. And they put them back in the car and they go to the vet and they come home. And then
So
the
then
groomer
the car
and
becomes,
yeah. And then
becomes scary. Oh no, I'm going to get shot, sir. I'm going to
to
get
the
cut.
groomer. Yeah, so it's our job to make sure that they're going in the car just as much for fun socializing, play dates, lots of other fun exposure, because otherwise that's exactly what happens. People are like, well, my dog afraid of the car. I'm like, well, tell me what you've been using the car for. Well, we go to the vet, we go to the groomer. Well, that's exactly why your dog's afraid of the car. I wouldn't get in the car. So make sure we're setting up our puppy for success. All right, reading back.
Use treats. Use high reward treats. Something that's going to be smelly to them. Whether it's a lot of people, a lot of my customers will use like a body part, whether it's a liver, lung, beef liver, beef heart, chicken heart. Just because they're such a high reward treat and they get so much more benefits from it because it is a body part of an animal compared to just a whole bunch of stuff added into it.
That's true. Hot dogs are not super healthy. Little tiny pieces or pieces of chicken too. Rotisserie chicken smells good. Better than like just boiling a piece of chicken. All right, my girl has super sensitive feet and I Dremel her nails, but it takes forever because she gets so stressed and that makes me tentative. Should I just let the groomer do her nails?
Absolutely. Because she can pick up on her being stressed. And so then it makes the dog more nervous. And so then it's just all of their nerves together in that small little area trying to do the poor little baby's nails. It'll be easier just to take them to a groomer. It takes maybe 10 minutes at most. And most places, I think it's like $15 for just a nail trim if you go in there. And a lot of them right now, they're not doing them as much, but a lot of places will do walk-in nail trims.
Eliana, don't stand at a window. Don't let her see you. That will make her naughty. The reason why dogs do things for groomers they don't do for owners is because they can get away with it with their owner, and they know that. When they go in with the groomer, and the groomer, as a matter of fact, no nonsense, has the confidence, puts them up on a table, this is the way it's going to be done, knows how to correct them that makes sense to the dog, just little things, you know, it's the way they move them, the way they handle them, then the dog feels safe because the groomer knows what they're doing and they portray that. But when we're trying to fumble around, and not that you are, but you feel tentative, you already feel nervous about touching her feet. And there's backstory to that. There's been a broken leg. So there's already been some emotional issues with touching her feet and her leg. She's had an injury. So we have to rise above that. Just take her to the groomer and have them do her nails. Drop her off, no nonsense, walk away. Same thing when guardian moms drop off their dogs. They're terrible till they leave. And I always tell them, I promise, the minute you're there, you are in your car and gone, I have a completely different dog. So same thing for groomers, I promise. They're just, because groomers know what they're doing, and this is what they've been trained to do, and the dogs understand that for the most part. And if the groomer doesn't, don't take your dog there. So your dog should love the groomer because they feel safe because the groomer's commanded that kind of presence. Like, hey, this is the way it's going to be done and we'll be fine. But no nonsense.
I have a lot of dogs that come in and they're just wagging their tail and don't even care when the owners walk away. And they're like, that's what I enjoy. Like, because the dogs obviously enjoy coming in. And so they're like, they're comfortable, they're going to do okay, as to where some dogs, they're scared to go back with the groomer. And that's not always the best sign.
Makes it hard for you guys too. You know, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's tough for the owner because they know it, feel it, and see it. And when they drop their dog off, it's tough for the dog to be in that state of mind the whole time. And it's so tough for you. It makes your job incredibly difficult. So tell us, speaking of that, what are things then owners can do to make your job easier, which in turn is better for their dog and for them?
I would say brushing regularly, brushing daily, making sure you schedule, depending on the condition of the coat, how long the coat is. Every 4 weeks is 4 to 8 weeks. If they're pretty short, if you take them down in about a 7, you can go about 8 weeks till you bring them back in. If you want to get a bath, you can come in sooner, of course. But just maintenance grooming. Get on a schedule with your groomer. A lot of groomers will pre-book you. They don't mind making sure that you have that space available to get your dog in. And those are the main things, but brushing is the key thing.
How long can you expect a Goldendoodle to be at a groomer?
It all depends on the groomer, and it depends on the coat. Usually I tell customers anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's longer. I have one Doodle. He's a pretty big boy, and he takes me about 4 hours to do. But I also hand scissor him majority of the way. So, and he's over 100 pounds easily. So he's a bit special case, but majority of the time it's usually about 2 or 3 hours.
Good. All right, so I'm gonna do a little bragging. You found me a lot of my Doodles and you loved them and sought me out to say, hey, I groom your Doodles, I love them. Why? What was so different about my Doodles that made you even track me down and contact me?
Well, I started doing your Doodles as soon as I started grooming, and they are by far the best temperament. You expose them to things when they're so young that it makes them a lot easier, especially if the owner, once they get their puppies, you do a maintenance and get it into a routine. They will sit there. I've had many of your Doodles that I can just have on my table without having anything on them, and they'll stay on the table. They won't go anywhere, and that it's amazing. It's phenomenal. Their coats are great. I've never had any issues. The majority, I'd say most of the customers that I have that are 4E, almost all of them brush regularly. They brush very religiously, and we're thankful for it as groomers.
We have such a bad family, such a bad family. It truly takes all of us between the breed, you know, our dogs, our mom dogs, the breeder, our groomers, our owners, our trainers, to truly make these dogs be elite and stand above. And, you know, that means so much to me that, you know, even a groomer that reached out to me and said, you know, I keep getting your 4E kennel dogs, and man, they are heads and tails so much better. Like, you just can tell when a 4E kennel dog comes in. So thank you so much. That means so much to me. You know, it really does, and just keeps confirming and continuing that drive to improve breeding, and now helping other breeders to do the same, and setting our dogs up for success, and especially our Doodles, that grooming is part of their life. There's no way around that. And so they have to know, you know, from the minute we start handling exercises, really with structure at 3 weeks old, tapping the nails, tugging and pulling and rubbing, and we increase our intensity and pressure so that the vet, the groomer, toddlers, that there's not that fear of being touched. They're very tolerant and compliant. That's our goal. That's our goal. Yes. Okay.
And
good.
you work with them on like the counters and stuff. Like you guys handle them on the counters and higher ups, which is great, because when they're on the table, they're higher up depending on their size. If they're a mini Doodle, they're going to be pretty high up on that table, and you want to make sure that they're not going to fall off, because they will get hurt if they fall off. And of course the groomer needs to be paying attention to that, but it can also happen, but you just have to get them used to it. I've seen some puppies come in at 4 months old and have no clue of what edges are of anything, and they just slip off. Their feet will just slip off constantly, so you always have to have a hand on them.
You know,
so yeah, it's
just the complete and utter lack of working them in different environments will, you know, their body awareness and their muscle to all of that. I mean, it really all does add up. They don't know they have 2 hind legs for a long time. And so working them in you know, in the environments that we do with the blocks and the stepping over and, you know, the uneven really helps with that, things that people just don't even think of. So I thank you so much for recognizing that and appreciating that. And yeah, getting dogs to load, you know, Norton Dog Training trains so many of them, builds confidence with dogs that are fearful by loading on top of things. So practice that with your puppy. With permission, load them or put them up on something to even brush them. Don't sit on the floor. Put a towel down, put them up on the counter, or like a great place, not the kitchen if you can, just because that's a place of food and we want the dog to really respect the boundaries of the kitchen counter, but a laundry room, if you have a sink and a counter, we all have washers and dryers.
Or a desk.
Or a desk, that's a good one too. So put the dog up on something to brush their teeth, clean their ears, tap their nails or Dremel, and start that right away. So get them up on something. That's good. I don't know that I've ever told owners to do that. So that's definitely something I'll add in with all of our stuff to get them up on something. Good, thank you. Chloe, we're building and continuing to improve our program. I love it. Yes. Yes, yes. I know a groomer a long time ago said, will you please tap your puppy's nails? Tap them, tap them, tap them. We've been doing that for years because a groomer asked us to, and what a difference that makes with touching their nails. They're like, oh, whatever. We've been being tapped and Dremeled from week 1. At 1 week old, our puppy's nails are Dremeled for the first time. So, all right. Any last questions for Chloe? She does have to go to work. Some people have to work around here, right, Chloe? Got dogs to groom. Any others? Anything else you want to add, Chloe?
Not really, just maintenance, making sure you're brushing. Find your groomer. Sometimes it takes a lot to find a good one. But if you need recommendations, I'll put my email address and where I work down in the thread, and they can email me, and depending on where they're located, I'll try to find a groomer that's close to them, or if they're willing to drive over to me, I have no problem scheduling them. But I know groomers throughout all of Vegas, North Las Vegas, Centennial, Southern Highlands, Summerlin, kind of everywhere. I have a groomer that I would recommend from all angles. But I have one other Doodle groomer that I've met, and she specifically does Doodles, and she's off of Durango and Warm Springs. She's another really good groomer as well, and I could make sure to get you that information if you're closer to her as well.
So there is no, any of my family have to find a groomer. Chloe is here to help you. Either use Chloe, or she'll recommend you, saving you a ton of time and heartache of finding a good breeder. Thank you so much for being here, Chloe, and sharing your expertise and helping our 4E family. Thank you so much for taking care of our puppies and loving them and helping them become good at the groomer. It takes you to spending the time for any puppy that comes in, the importance of that first time at the groomer, continuing to build on that so it's something positive. They don't have to love it, really. They don't have to love it, but they have to be okay with it. You know, it can't be so stressful. They can be like, this is Hannah when she goes to the groomer. Like, she puts her head down and walks in. Like, she doesn't love it, but she tolerates it. Yeah. Okay. Now it's just more like, oh man, I know it's coming. This is gonna be a long day. They're getting older, you know, so it's a little bit longer of a day for them. So
I'll say some dogs enjoy it and some dogs don't. Some dogs will just tolerate it and just kind of be like, okay, I'll deal with it. And there's other dogs that I've seen where they get so nervous, they pee, they poop, they throw up. It's a nightmare because they're just so afraid of it because they've either had a bad experience or they didn't get the exposure that they needed. And then I've had other Doodles that will just climb up onto my table and stand there and not give me any issues at all. Like, so it really just depends on the dog.
Those are my dogs. Go ahead, brush me out, touch me, love me, make me look spiffy. That's right. That's a badass puppy right there. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody for continuing to help us on this journey of not only changing breeding from bad to, go ahead, Chloe.
Badass.
Atta girl. Healing hearts and changing lives through the power of a dog. We can't shut down puppy mills and backyard breeders if we don't educate the public to buy differently. We buy differently, we'll breed differently. We truly can save our dogs. We don't need to go through legislature. We don't need to change laws. We need to change the way we buy. Stop buying from puppy stores. Stop buying from backyard breeders. Look for ethical, responsible breeders that put the time and energy into each puppy. Health checks, puppy evaluations before you even select that puppy. Have a great—
Or rescue.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Why don't you give us your phone number that people can reach you real quick, and then also type it on the Facebook page, but give us your number.
So my cell phone number is going to be 702-371-2618.
2018?
Yep.
702.
371
371
2618.
2618. Give Chloe a call. She can help you. And you're grooming now. So all of our dogs that are COVID in need, call Chloe today. Taken care of. Bye, everybody. Have a great Friday.
Bye.